So I'm gonna do something that I never do, and that is flip a piece of thrifted furniture. Seems crazy, I know, but let's go ahead and get started, and I'm gonna tell you why I never flip thrifted furniture. Today I found a piece of furniture at my favorite local thrift store. I go there for everything except furniture. And let me tell you why. Thrifted furniture is overpriced in my area. The profit isn't there and it's just not worth it for me. But today I was in the section and I found a solid wood dresser for $10. It was marked down. I have no idea why they marked it down. I think it had to do with the drawers. They were wobbly. That was an easy fix once I saw the type of drawers they were. So I couldn't have grabbed that ticket faster and ran up to the cashier to buy it. So immediately I knew I wanted to make those bottom 4 drawers match the top 2 drawers just because my brain loves symmetry. After marking where the lines needed to be cut, I used my table saw to make the cuts. Then I filled in the hardware holes with my go-to wood filler. It's the only one that I've found that actually stains. Even though they all say that they are stainable, that's not what I've found to be true, but this one actually is stainable, so it's the one I use the most. While the wood filler dried on the drawers, I grabbed my sander and hooked it up to my shop vac to keep the dust down in my garage and sanded down the dresser. I started with the 80 grit and worked my way up because it's a solid wood dresser. I personally prefer sanding over chemical strippers, especially if it's solid wood. It's just less messy and more budget friendly. The worst part of sanding is hand sanding. I had to remove the original finish from those top 2 drawers that had the lines in it. I used some sanding accessories that I have on hand to help get into those cracks. I'll link the ones that I use below, but just it sucks regardless. It's not fun. Small crevices, I really should use a chemical stripper, but I clearly like to torture myself and decided to just hand sand, and it did take a while just for these 2 drawers. But once I finally removed all the finish, I drew a line with a pencil so that when I used the next grit and sandpaper up, I was using 150 here, I could tell where I had sanded and where I hadn't. It's easy to lose track when you aren't actually sanding anything off. I do that in between each grit. I go from 80 to 120 to 150 before hand sanding with 220 to remove any of the swirl marks left over from the orbital sander. This part isn't any fun either, but it actually doesn't take as long as you would think. So it was time to fix the broken drawers. If you've ever seen the metal tracks with the plastic pieces and they're broken, don't let them intimidate you. They're actually so easy to fix and actually inexpensive. It's just 2 pieces, the piece that gets drilled into the drawer track and the one that gets drilled into the guide on the back of the drawer. That's it. It's just unscrewing the old and putting in the new. I'll link them below. And if you haven't already, I'd love if you like, subscribe to my channel so you can see more of my furniture flips in the future.
Hi, good, how are you?
I had to drill new hardware holes, and the easiest way I found to do that was with a laser level. I was just going to use a knob for the hardware, so it was actually really easy to just have to drill 1 hole. I plan to stain this dresser because I want to highlight the natural wood. This is pine though, which is a soft wood that absorbs stain unevenly. So it's crucial I use a pre-stain wood conditioner to make sure the stain applies evenly. I apply it with a foam brush, let it sit for about 5 to 10 minutes before wiping it back with a lint-free cloth. finally time to start staining, and lighter finishes tend to sell faster in my area, so I choose that usually when I'm going to be selling a piece. Today I'm using Minwax's Simply White in their oil-based stain, which I've actually never used before. I tend to use a paint wash when I'm doing a lighter stain color, which is like a stain, it's just water-based, but water-based anything dries a lot faster than oil-based products, and when working on larger pieces of furniture, you're gonna find you could easily get streaks if you don't work fast enough when using water-based products. So to save myself some stress, I decided to try this new product, and it's not new, it's just new to me. And let me tell you, I don't know if I'm ever going to go back to white paint washes again. I kept trying to work fast because I had it in my mind that it was going to dry fast just because that's what I'm used to, but it didn't. It just removed the yellow undertone of the pine and highlighted the grain and just gave such a beautiful finish. The hardest part was actually getting the stain out of the cracks, which honestly, I'll take any day over dealing with a streaky stain finish. I cannot recommend this Minwax Simply White stain enough. And here's a side-by-side comparison of the Simply White on the left and just the pre-stain on the white. You can definitely tell how it removes that yellow undertone from the pine. But if you know me, you also know that I love layering stain colors. I think it gives so much dimension to the wood piece and gives a more unique look that people are more willing to pay higher prices for because it gives that Pottery Barn or Restoration Hardware finish. This time I'm using Proventional by Minwax over the Simply White stain. I did let the stain fully dry before applying this Proventional. About 3 hours I let it dry before applying this. This is one of my favorite stains to use. It's honestly the perfect brown in my opinion. I apply it with a stain pad because it gives me more control over the amount of stain that I apply. If I don't have a staining pad available, then I just use a lint-free cloth and wipe it back as soon as the full surface is covered. I don't let it sit for even like 2 to 3 minutes like the Simply White, as I'm just trying to add a little dimension to the coloring. Here's a picture of a Pottery Barn dresser that looks so close to the finish that this stain combination is giving. I know I'm biased, but I think it's super close. Let me know what you think in the comments. So originally I was thinking about doing an apothecary style dresser, which I guess this is kind of still the style that this dresser is, but I went with a knob instead of a traditional apothecary style drawer pull that you can sometimes see, just to make it a little more modern. These knobs are some of my favorites to use. I actually have them in my garage cabinets and in my kids' bathroom. And the final step of this flip is to seal it so it lasts many more years. This is my favorite top coat to use and my favorite way to apply it. I'll link both below, but if you join me on my other projects, you'll see that I grabbed these two products on 90% of my flips. If you hate applying top coats, this is a great way to start actually liking it because it's pretty foolproof. My paint sprayer that I'm using comes with 3 different nozzles, and the one that I'm specifically using is for top coats, so you don't have to thin it or anything. Just point and spray in an even pattern. I even leave the drawers in and just pull them out a bit while I'm spraying. Let's take a second just to look at the before of the dresser to what it looks like now. And oh my gosh, if this doesn't scream Restoration Hardware, I don't know what does. I should have taken a picture of my Restoration Hardware desk that I paid thousands of dollars for, because I swear it looks almost identical to this with the black hardware, this really rustic tone. I'm in love. Let me know what you think of it. So now that the dresser is all done, let's go work on what we should sell it for. So to price this dresser, I created a pricing guide that helps me price consistently and confidently. I have already went in and added the material cost of the products that I used during this flip. And then let's go in and add how much I used of each of these products. And again, this is just going to be an estimate, but it'll get you close enough to get a material cost for what you use to flip this furniture. Oh, and I forgot to add in the actual cost of the furniture, so let's add that and scroll down here. I also include a labor cost breakdown with the number of hours spent and an added profit margin with how I kind of come up with that. I have this template for sale down in a link below. So it looks like I'm going to be charging around $350 for this dresser and make a profit of around $108-ish, and that's pure profit. That doesn't include materials and labor.